You ever get that feeling that the old playbook for work, it just doesn't work anymore? Yeah, you're definitely not alone. So today, we're going to dive into a really fascinating new book that actually gives us a language for this feeling and maybe even a new map for this new world of work. Let's jump in.
I mean, does that sound familiar? This quote it nails that feeling, right? That kind of quiet, constant hum of misalignment. It's that sense that, yeah, on paper, everything looks great. We're hitting our numbers, but underneath it all, something just feels rushed or brittle or just plain off. And here's the thing that's so important to get right away. This feeling, it's not you. It's not a personal failure. You don't just need a better to-do list or some new productivity app. No, the book makes a powerful case that this strain is actually a systemic problem. It's a flashing red light telling us that the world itself, the very environment we're operating in, has fundamentally changed. And this right here really gets to the heart of the paradox. You look at the metrics, and everything seems fine. Profits are up, the charts are going in the right direction. But inside the walls, well, people are burning out. They're crushed under the weight of making split-second decisions, but they don't have the actual authority to back them up. It's a recipe for exhaustion.
Okay, so that brings us to the big question, right? Why is it that when we try to fix this by just doing more of the same but harder, let's just have a better strategy or more disciplined execution, why does it not seem to fix that deep underlying tension? Well, the book suggests the problem isn't our effort. It's the map we're reading from. We're in a new territory with an old map.
This is such a perfect way to see the mismatch. On one side, you have linear order. This is the world our companies were built for. It's like dominoes, right? You push one, and you know exactly what's going to happen next. Predictable, contained. But now we live in this systemic reality. It's this incredibly interconnected web where a tiny little nudge over here can cause a massive, unpredictable ripple effect way over there almost instantly.
And we've got to be clear, this isn't just a slow, gradual change. The book argues it's more like a phase transition. Think about water turning into ice. It's not just colder water. It's a completely different state with entirely new rules. That's what's happened to our world. It's like we're running on a completely new operating system.
So, welcome to what the book calls the network age. And here's the wild part. It's not just that we have faster tech. It's that the environment itself has become intelligent. Everything is connected. Everything is sensing, computing, and acting, all in a continuous, real-time loop. We're not just using the network anymore. We are in the network.
This little timeline really helps put things in perspective. Back in the industrial age, the big problem to solve was energy and scale. Then came the digital age, and the central problem was information. But now, in the network age, we're drowning in information. The real bottleneck, the truly scarce resource, is us. It's our very human capacity for good judgment.
And this new age brings with it this huge, central paradox. On one hand, our technology gives us almost godlike awareness. Our systems can see everything, everywhere, all at once.
But, and this is the absolute key, consciousness doesn't scale along with it. Our systems can act on all that information, sure, but they can't be responsible for it. They don't have any skin in the game. And guess who's left holding the bag? Yep, us.
Okay, so if we're living in a brand new world, we can't keep using the old language, right? To navigate this living, breathing system, we need a whole new vocabulary. And that's what this book starts to give us, a kind of grammar for seeing our organizations not as these clunky machines we're trying to control, but as the living, dynamic systems they've actually become.
So first up, this is the idea of complex adaptive systems. And the best way to think about this is think of a rainforest, not a factory. In a factory, everything is top-down control. But a rainforest, nobody's in charge. Order just emerges from all these millions of tiny interactions, creating this incredibly resilient, self-regulating system.
So if nobody's in charge, what stops it all from just falling into chaos? Well, the book calls it structural integrity. For a system to be strong, you have to tightly couple a few key things together: information, authority, judgment, and responsibility. The moment you pull those apart, like you give someone responsibility but not the authority to act, the whole structure starts to wobble. It becomes unstable.
And the human ingredient that makes that structural integrity possible? It's autonomy. Now, this is super important. This isn't about just letting everyone do whatever they want. No. It's about the capacity for individuals to carry responsibility within the action itself.
It means you don't just pass the buck up the chain or hide behind a rule book. You own it right then and there.
So all of this, it leads us to a totally different idea of what leadership even is. It's not about the one heroic genius at the top making all the calls. Instead, it's more like being a gardener. It's about cultivating the right conditions for the whole system to be healthy and thrive on its own.
All right, first, let's clear the air on what this isn't. Conscious leadership is not some personality type you have or don't have. It's not the latest leadership style from a business book. It's not a checklist of competencies, and it is absolutely not some sneaky new way to control people to get the outcomes you want. So what is it then? Think of it less like a person and more like a property of the system itself. Kind of like how wetness is a property of water. It's simply the form that coordination has to take when things are moving so fast that old-school, top-down management just can't keep up. In this new world, leadership stops being a role on an org chart and becomes a capacity that's distributed through the entire team.
And this chart gives you a feel for what this actually looks like on the ground. Take interdependence. In a system like this, feedback isn't something you wait for at your quarterly review. The system is talking back to you constantly, immediately. Or look at autonomy. Responsibility isn't a weight that's pushed down on you from above. It feels internal. It's just baked into the way you work.
Okay, let's pull the camera back for the final big picture view. Because what we've been talking about, it starts out looking like a problem for businesses, but when you really look at it, you realize it's something way, way bigger. This is actually a fundamental challenge for our whole civilization. And this quote just hits so hard. The idea that we might look back on this era, and the main event won't be the fancy tech. It'll be that this was the moment when human responsibility became structurally unavoidable. There's nowhere to hide anymore. Being responsible isn't just a nice-to-have virtue. It's become a basic requirement for things to not fall apart.
So we're going to leave you with this question. When the old structures, the hierarchies, the procedures, the rule books, when they can no longer hold the weight of the world we've built, what does that demand from each of us individually? What is required of you and of me when we can't delegate judgment anymore? It's a huge question, and it really gets to the heart of what it means to be a grown-up in the 21st century.